Hello, James Craddock with the iGestalt Creative Thinking Strategy, and you are now in the subconscious arena. How does it feel? I thought about putting like a different shade of, a different tint to each frame as I take you through the different arenas. I still might do that. And in this arena, obviously, the color of the subconscious, because we've gone from the back end of the rainbow, the violet, the indigo, to the blue, and the green of the consciousness, to now the yellow. We're into the last part of, we're getting closer to the eternal arena. We're in the last part of the 7 arenas of human experience, and we're very much now, we've just entered into an arena that begins the intangibles. Even the conscious arena I consider tangible because you can so specifically isolate the processes, and you can almost reach out and touch them because they're part of your conscious awareness, and they're part of that reality that is made up of the physical, the sensual, the emotional, and the conscious. So now we go into the subconscious, and we go into this area where the routines in the back of our mind that drive us to be who we are and do what we do exist. And here in the last couple hundred years, we have become very aware of our subconscious. This subconscious arena, we've become very, very adept at it, and we've understood it. We've developed programs such as NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, to control it. We've very much developed hypnosis to a point that through hypnosis and visualization and an understanding of some of the laws such as reciprocity and the attraction type of laws, we've been able to kind of harness our subconscious and manifest things out of it as a result. And all I've done is taken all of that and put it into a model of these 7 arenas of human experience so that you can see that they're broken down into certain sections. And here we have this section, this arena, the subconscious arena, and it's colored yellow. Yellow's an interesting color in how it subtly evokes certain senses of creativity, certain senses of power, certain senses of confidence, but it does so in a very subtle way. And the subconscious is very much like that. It gives us instructions that we may or may not even recognize are playing out. Even as I speak to you, if I think consciously, if I consciously access my subconscious, I can hear the voice that says, what you're teaching here is absolutely insane. There are people that are not going to appreciate or agree with you in what you are talking about. There are all kinds of negative connotations just about this physical thing. Then there's the voice in the head that says, you know, what in the world are you wearing? Why are you wearing purple, staying next to a green tree with a whiteboard behind you haven't written on? Why don't you tell everybody what an awful person you are and all of your downfalls and all of your shortcomings? And those voices that come at us, those are the negative ones, they scream at us from the subconscious arena. And we're all very familiar with those. And now we've psychologically really torn down this arena and segmented it. And we're going to teach a lot of that throughout the Institute. And we have a good understanding and a good grasp on the subconscious arena as a society, as a whole. And we've learned to utilize it, which is why we're standing at the crossroads that we are. This is why December 23rd of 2012 is going to be such a big day, and it's going to be this quote-unquote shift in consciousness or shift in thinking that I'm anticipating will help launch this program and the iGestalt Creative Thinking Strategy, because people are now at a point where they're standing on top of the knowledge of the subconscious. We're standing on top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, having realized that for the most part we can fulfill all of our needs to a very high level, and now we're wanting to reach into the next arena, and we're wanting to become enlightened beyond what we currently understand. And it's because we've harnessed this arena, the subconscious arena, that we are at that level of confidence. Now, as with anything, we need to be very careful not to become overconfident and not to allow our understanding of the world and our close connection through the internet and things of this nature, technology, to dissuade us from recognizing that we still have 2 more arenas to go, and that we still need an essence of faith, and we still need a moral code in our fabric of our person, our family, our home, our society, and as a planet and as a race. We cannot forget and think that just because we're standing on a mountain of knowledge, getting ready to reach into the next arena with great confidence, that we don't need the reality of the arena beyond it, of the God that created us, and of the principles and the duties and morals of man. That being said, this subconscious arena, there are experts out there, you may be one of them, that know far and away more than I do. I love to study it. I love psychology. I love the aspects of this arena. But once again, this subconscious arena has a very specific purpose in our strategy. All of the other external information that influences this arena, or if you will, dissects it for us and teaches us about it, is substantive to the strategy. But the strategy is not dependent on those aspects of the subconscious arena so much as it is just simply dependent on an awareness of how that arena is structured and how it interacts with the other 6 arenas. Then, once we recognize the importance of that and the functionality of that, having all the other information to influence how it is that the subconscious is doing its duties is very important. Again, the computer analogy, the subconscious becomes your hard drive. It becomes the place where everything is stored. All the data that you've taken in from the physical arena, through the senses, processed through the emotions into the conscience, hits the subconscious. And it gets written there. It stays there. Effectively, it stays there forever, but there are ways to write it out of the subconscious and put it on into the next arena, into a safe place where it cannot actually harm you in this temporal state of human existence. And that's a concept that we will delve into after we have gone through establishing the arena itself. But it acts like a hard drive, and it comes back and it's constantly feeding your conscious arena with information that your conscious arena is using to operate from. If you have a computer, what you're doing is you're loading up all that information out of the hard drive or out of your subconscious into your RAM or your conscience for use. The moment you wake up, you bootstrap in a very fast manner, or if you're like me, a slow manner, you bootstrap your mind with the operating system and everything else that is necessary for you to function, and you get up and you start getting your coffee and take your shower and do your thing throughout the day. And your subconscious, little by little, is feeding more and more and more and more and more of your stored data into your consciousness, and you're acting and reacting as a result of it. This is also a dynamic thing that happens as you interact with the physical arena, and then you, of course, got the feedback from the emotional arena that is compounding your conscience, so that by the time you get from bed to bathroom to kitchen, it's amazing how much information is being processed through your brain. And this subconscious arena is responsible for a lot of it. This subconscious arena it's very volatile. It can be scarred, it can be dented, it can be shaped and formed. It can be unfolded, it can be folded, it can be manipulated. But the problem is, the longer the subconscious has lived in our subconscious has lived in us, the longer we have affected the arena that we are in possession of, each individual, the harder it is to get it to unfold, because we have laid such deep paths of belief and such deep ingrained mantras of what it is that we are and who we are and how we view the world. And it often, which we learn from some of the great teachers, we often need pattern interrupts and very, very explosive events to happen in our lives in order to cause the subconscious to jolt out of its apparent state, zombie-like state. We talked about zombies, but we have to wake it up sometimes. And these are all methods that we'll bring into play to kind of give you an idea how to do that. But recognizing the framework of that subconscious arena makes you realize why you are who you are and how it is that you do what you do. And if you want to make those changes, you've got to do it at this level. This is where those changes often take place. Now, as we look into future arenas, we'll discover that you can make changes there as well, and they will be much more impactful in changing your subconscious arena than if you even try to change your subconscious arena directly. However, there is really a process, and there really is an interaction that has to come from both sides, because if you reinforce one and not the other, there's going to be a dominance that is going to take place, and you're not going to have a balanced nature about you. And really, what makes the 7 arenas work and work best is when they're in balance. They don't have to be at full operating capacity as much as they have to be in balance. And you could, I think an aircraft carrier is a good explanation of this. If I've got an engine room that is screaming, I mean, those engines are putting out 10 times the amount of power that the prop hanging out the back of the aircraft carrier. And if you've ever seen an aircraft carrier out of water, isn't that just the most amazing thing? You got this huge, massive ship that does all of this amazing functionality, and there's 1 or 2 screws out the back that's pushing it around. I mean, you would think there's this intricate system down below that's doing it all. It always surprises me when I see it. But you've got this aircraft carrier, and all of its intricate workings. And if the engines are turning those screws faster than they can handle it, then there's going to be a problem. They're going to burn up. If those screws have such a huge blade on them that they can't be turned by the engines, then the engines are going to burn up. If there's this, if the hull of the ship has a 400-foot wall for a front end, and you're trying to push a wall of water the whole time you're going through the ocean, well, now your aircraft carrier is not going to be as efficient as it should be. If the aircraft carrier's got a gigantic hole right in the middle of the deck, you're not launching any airplanes. If one sailor on that aircraft carrier decides to play with matches in the wrong area of the aircraft carrier, it's possible that he could create a chain reaction and start something that would ultimately sink that aircraft carrier. Again, from a naval background, I utilize this type of a metaphor. I reach into the physical arena and bring this visual to you to help you say that this subconscious arena is very critical in the overall network of the 7 arenas. And the interaction between each arena is very critical. The synthesis of the signals processing through all 7 arenas is critical. And a balance of all of it is what makes you most effective. It's what puts the least amount of strain on you and allows you to move through life and through obstacles with the least amount of impact. And it makes you much more potent, much more lethal, much more successful, whatever it is that you need to be, is when you have them all in balance. And it's in the subconscious arena that, I don't like saying the word subconscious as much as I like saying the word subconscious, because I always think I'm not going to pronounce the N in subconscious well enough, and you're going to be sitting there going, he don't know what he's talking about. He keeps calling it the subconscious. So that was actually the beginning of why I called them arenas, is because if I could use the word subconscious as an adjective instead of as a noun, I felt much more comfortable using it on a regular basis. Anyhow, a little insight. But the subconscious arena is where you are keeping track of all of this data, and this is where you are keeping it in your hard drive and holding on to it. And this is the fountain that is spewing out what it is that's going to cause you to walk the way you walk and carry yourself the way you carry yourself and interact with people and speak to people. This is going to be the arena that determines how you comb your hair and what you wear and the colors you like, and all of those type of characteristics of your human persona are going to come from this, if you want to call it the oracle of the 7 arenas, because this is kind of where it all hangs out, and from there it motivates us or it detracts from our ability to do anything. So when that negative feedback from your subconscious starts to affect you, first of all, you can't beat yourself up over it. It was put there. Maybe not by you, but it definitely came in through the physical arena, through your senses, and hit your emotions. And depending on how your emotions synthesized that input, determines how it was written by the conscious arena into the subconscious arena. And now the subconscious arena runs programs, loops, based on the data that's there. And then we got to mess with that data if we want to make some changes, and that's a subject for another day. So in this module, what you're going to get is the framework of the subconscious arena. But I want you to understand that as you discover the framework and then you parse it out into it just being this specific arena, you'll start to gain insight and a little bit of command over that subconscious. And we'll talk about a little bit about hypnosis and how hypnosis basically bypasses those first 3 arenas and lands you right solidly in the subconscious arena. And it keeps those first, the physical essential, the emotional, and the conscious arena, the first 4 arenas, it'll keep them at bay while it does its job in the subconscious arena. However, it can only do its job for a very short period of time. Why? Because I said it before, there needs to be a synthesis and a cooperation between the 7 arenas. There needs to be that on a consistent basis in order for the spirit, in order for the electromagnetic field that surrounds you to remain consistent, and then for it to impact the physical world. You can't be up one day, down the next, and expect people to follow you. That's just a terrible way to approach interacting with other people. There needs to be a consistent force field around you, a consistent electromagnetic field, a consistent personality, and a consistent character if you're going to interact with the character and personality of other people. And what will happen is, as your 7 arenas synthesize consistently, people will gravitate towards them, simply because by doing that, they find stability and they are able to nurture themselves and find a very stable environment or force field to dock on and to interact with. And by doing that and having that stability, they want to be around you. And it's kind of the law of attraction and the idea of a magnetic personality explained, because that shows that so if you don't have a lot of power but you have stability, you're going to be able to gain the power, because you're going to be able to get it from those influences that come into your life, those positive influences that want to gravitate towards you. Much we can talk about in that area. The subconscious arena, it's an amazing place, but you need to understand it with a tangible grasp. You need not to be afraid of it. You need not to be concerned that you're not going to be able to manipulate it. You need to be aware of it, and you need to have the laws and the characteristics and the temperament and all of these attributes of the subconscious arena fully You need to be fully cognitive of them so that you can manage them and you can manipulate them and they don't manipulate you. You need to know what's happening from the time you wake up till the time you go to sleep, because when it comes to creative thinking, you're going to want to access and tap this arena and do specific things within this arena that's going to affect, that's going to work in conjunction with the conscience and ultimately access the next arena, which is that sixth sense. So, welcome to the subconscious arena. It's an exciting one, and no doubt we're just going to scratch the surface, but mainly what this module is about is establishing for you the tangible framework that we want to incorporate later into the Eichsfeld creative thinking strategy. Because remember, creativity is the sixth sense.